Fresh. Classic. Give something special just from Maya.
Welcome back to Technology Behind Business. Well, now let's go to a company that's seeking to ride the wave of one of the most disruptive trends to hit the industry. SAP, one of the largest software companies on the planet, and their bread and butter are large enterprise-based systems, usually run on-premise. But in an age where CIOs are being called on to do more with less, they're increasingly turning to the cloud for big savings. So how is SAP coping with the change? And can they continue to walk the tightrope between a cloud future and a lucrative on-premise past? Well, joining me now in the Sky News Business Centre is the co-CEO of SAP, Jim Snaber. Jim, welcome to Sky News and to Australia as well.
Thanks, Nigel.
Let's talk about SAP firstly and how it's dealt with this change of the cloud. When you took over the company 3.5 years ago, it was going through a period of transition. It was struggling, but things really seem to have stabilised in that period. And that's not something that a lot of people predicted. What's been the key for you to achieve that turnaround?
Well, fundamentally, it's been two main dimensions of reinventing a company that was extremely successful in inventing basically standard software for businesses to run better. First of all, getting closer to the customer again, understanding the value that we create at customers and accelerate that value. And secondly, it's really about speed of innovation. If you want to stay relevant in the tech industry, you have to be the fastest. You have to lead the change as technologies disrupt markets. You have to be the leader. And we've been twice as fast today as we were only 3.5 years ago in innovation.
I don't think people necessarily give executives enough credit for being able to transform a successful business, because it's easy transforming one in a sense that's unsuccessful, but when your core business is so lucrative, that does make it harder. What has the rapid shift to cloud computing meant for SAP, though? It seemed to take you by surprise.
Well, it wasn't a surprise. We've seen it for a while, and often these trends start in the consumer world and then they move into business. We saw that with mobile, and we were the first to argue mobile is for business purposes as well, not just for entertainment of consumers. And the same, of course, is true with the cloud. We've seen specialist companies doing only cloud, and we had a very successful business on-premise. Now, we see cloud as an opportunity and not as a threat. It's an opportunity because it allows us for the first time to really simplify for the customer. So cloud takes the complexity away from the customer. It puts the complexity on our shoulders. And because we can install the same infrastructure for multiple companies, we can, of course, give a huge cost benefit to companies. And that's great for us as well.
Now, I hear what you're saying, but talking to people in the industry and hearing feedback from customers, that what I understand from them is your cloud strategy to them is confusing and it's not comprehensive. Why do you think your message, which seems to be pretty clear, why isn't that getting through to them?
Well, I think that in the first phase of getting relevant in the cloud, we had to challenge the assumption that we're just an ERP company and that we're just an on-premise company. And I think that takes time. If you have a certain brand recognition, it takes time to change that. We did, like most of the cloud players, we went after the niche markets in the public cloud, like human resource management in the cloud, where we are the leader today, CRM, customer relationships in the cloud, procurement in the cloud. And now we're actually coming out with everything in the cloud, which means we can offer an end-to-end solution like no other supplier in the market that runs in the cloud. And we can even take the concern away that companies have that they are out of control of their solution because their competitor have the same solution. We offer the individual cloud for each individual customer if they need.
Isn't the challenge, though, and I'm not sure how you solve this, but succeeding in the cloud could be a negative thing because your revenues from your existing traditional on-premise business are so lucrative that by shifting customers to the cloud, you're actually, in the short term anyway, going to be less profitable.
That is true, that the business model is one where you don't ask for the investment up front, but you get, it's kind of leasing a car instead of buying a car. Now, in that model, if you have world-class solutions like we have, and you get the customer to stay with your service, at the end of this, it's actually a more lucrative model because customer continues to pay for the service. And if we can manage the complexity with less costs, we can have a very nice business as well. So it's kind of a win-win. That's why we've embraced this. We've not tried to avoid it, while others have tried to avoid it because the on-premise business seems so lucrative. At the end of the day, it's really about what's good for the customer. And cloud is good for the customer if you can deliver the security that they expect in the cloud.
Who do you see now as your biggest competitor? Is it still Oracle, or in the CRM space now, is it Salesforce.com, which really have that startup mentality?
Yeah, actually, it's a very interesting question because we see our traditional competition moving away from the traditional legacy on-premise oriented companies more to the cloud vendors. I think we have the advantage in that comparison that each of the cloud vendors only have a fraction of a solution to offer, like CRM or human resource management or a finance system or an expense management system. And we have the end-to-end solution. We can cover all needs from a customer, and they can then choose which parts do they want on-premise, which parts do they want in the cloud, and we take care of the end-to-end integration and consistency.
Now, you've already flagged some cost cutting that will happen in SAP in January next year, but broadly speaking, Jim, what can we expect to see from the company over 2014?
So we have focused our strategy on innovation. When we talk about cost cutting, it's really about making sure that we don't increase our spend more than we grow our revenues. And there will be two things that's on our mind as we move forward. Innovation around offering everything we have in the cloud, and innovations on our HANA platform, a revolutionary new database technology that is 10,000s of times faster than traditional disk-based systems. We're putting everything we have onto the HANA platform and into the cloud. With that, we can simplify and increase value.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. You're stepping down in May, is it, next year, and handing the reins over to the original or the other CEO who based out of the US. Jim, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure.
Well, let's go now to another online company and the job market. It was a success story. It was once the hunter, but it might now be the hunted. Seek.com.au, no doubt disrupting the market when it first launched a number of years ago as job ads